Sup, Utopians? Hope all is well with you. What a night watching all this women's hoops. And I must say, I've been very impressed. I like where the state of basketball in general is um, at with regards to this very moment. Um, I got my Laker gear on. Want to talk a little bit about the Lakers right now. Um, it's crazy because originally I had a plan on discussing some interesting statistics on LeBron James with the Lakers. Um, and then it just, as I waited, more revelations started to come about. Call me crazy. I think LeBron sees my tweets online because it's just weird. I think a lot of these big wigs pay attention a lot to what's going on, um, because there's always a quick response. I made a Drake May video, and then Washington claiming that I think Washington is going to draft Drake May, and then moments later, like an hour or two later, just a wildfire of press release. JJ McCarthy is who, if you know who Andrew Peters is. I mean, people in Andrew Peters' group, confidants, think he's going to go McCarthy at number two. Um, the timing was so rapid though. I was like, whoa. And then I had a debate about LeBron, and there was an analytics piece online, and LeBron, uh, they were talking about LeBron's all-time leading three-pointer. Like, obviously this segues into the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about, but they were basically trying to make it sound like because LeBron is like all time. I got all the accolades right here of what he's done just with the Lakers. This is not um, all together in his career. This is just while being with the Lakers. While LeBron has been a Laker, he's an NBA champion in 2020, Finals MVP 2020, five-time All-Star, uh, All NBA first team in 2020, second team in 21, two-time All NBA third team in 19 and 22, uh, NBA assist leader in 2020, 75th anniversary team, AP Athlete of the Year 2020, Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year 2020, all-time leading scorer happened while he was with the Lakers in 23. He's second all-time in total points, 10th in rebounds, uh, second in total assists, tied for third in total steals, tied for ninth in blocks, total tied for first in total three-pointers made. And the funny thing is, they were trying to debate that meant he was a shooter, like we didn't remember his Miami days or the significance of his poster dunk on KG in Boston. But the paint was so clogged he couldn't get busy, and so when he finally got in, he jammed it on KG. That was the cultural significance of him posterizing KG on that two-step dunk, was the fact they kept him out of the paint because he couldn't shoot. And now he's tied for first all time in total three. Well, no, now he's officially the sole leader of total three-pointers made, second in field goals made, fourth in free throws made, tied for first in total wins, and second in total games played. Obviously, a lot of longevity from King James, but there's a pending 2-year, $97 million, and recently, I think as of a day or two ago, against Brooklyn, which was Sunday, he had a 9 3-pointer game after we were debating, ironically, online if he was a shooter or not, because we were talking about the impact and analytics of the three ball. And I was basically saying that it can be misleading. For instance, the Splash Bros were great, but coming off the second unit, you had Sean Livingston still shooting. Not only was he still shooting mid ranges, he was all time great, top 10 all time in mid range shooters I had ever seen with the Warriors. Mo Buckets, Mo Spates, 6'10 floor spacer. David West specialized in the mid range. So there was a lot of support. Andrew Wiggins wasn't in a particular, the year they won without KD, when after KD left, he wasn't no particular marksman from the 3 point line. He won He did a lot of for the Warriors to get their championship for all that they wanted without KD. Wiggins had an out of body experience for the Warriors, and um, he wasn't a 3 point shooter. They've always had help while they've been the poster child of analytic 3 pointers over mid ranges. Just like when we have these debates about small ball, ironically, the league is smaller now. There isn't room for the traditional five. Meanwhile, the Nuggets just won a championship. So I was reflecting on this because they're at a crossroads. For sure, I think LeBron got at least one more year because he's going to try to, match the timeline with his son, Bronny, who, some question whether going to USC was the best decision for him. Uh, but he did. And I had to reflect, I don't claim to be a diehard Lakers fan, but I do respect the consistency. They've been in the top five on Forbes for the last 2 decades. And 2023 was the first time they were not in the top five. Not only were they not in the top five, they weren't in the top 10. Not only were they not in the top 10, they weren't in the top 15. So for all that accolades, and I've been the first to say, like, LeBron deserves a statue even in LA, even though he's not a lifer. And these words are not my words, but Shannon Sharp and Andrew and Gilbert Arenas, Valley native, Los Angeles, on that lineage of local LA legends who made it to the league, um, stated that I guess LeBron is deeply hurt and saddened that he's not more ingratiated in the Laker history and is not considered an all-time great, but he didn't accumulate any of these real accolades. He's not from here. He didn't do it from birth like Kobe or when he was in his early 20s. He came here near the end. It's a business transaction. Mr. Lifetime Nike deal. Mr. 30, there's 32 teams in the league. He'd be the 33rd team. He's his own franchise merged with, at the time, the most valuable team in the NBA, the Lakers. They're not even the most valuable team in the NBA anymore. I think it's the Warriors is got priority over them. Um, so not even California's most valuable team anymore. On top of that, and he's you know he's joining forces, and it's always felt like a business transaction. And Skip had a funny pun, a funny play on words, where he said, "Is he Michael B. Jordan or is he trying to be Michael Jordan?" Some believe his off off the court curricular is more important than his on the court curricular. I grew up watching when I first moved to LA. Nick Van Axel, Eddie Jones, Del Harris, Eldon Campbell. I watched the years in the project in the you know the evolution of the Lakers, so to speak. This is by far probably one of the worst eras of Laker basketball, and I've said it several times. Nobody could have walked this franchise post Kobe perishing except for LeBron. Who knows where it could have been? It's scary to think, especially since Lonzo's been injured. Ingram hasn't. Ingram, Kuzma, Randall haven't had the postseason success that you would like. Like most people, after they're done running with LeBron, don't seem to have a lot of postseason success after they're no longer teammates with him. But this is by far one of the worst eras, I would say, in Lakers basketball history, because even worse than the Chris Mim, Kwame Brown, Smush Parker era, when it got really messy because Kobe got so frustrated he was ready to get traded to Chicago, but the Bulls wouldn't give the Lakers Luol Deng. They were only offering an equal swap, not Luol stays in Chicago with Kobe. And Kobe and Luau joined forces. It was we trade them for each other. And Luau is one of the most durable, remarkable players. Speaking of the mid range, he's in that top 10 category of greatest mid range scorers. A ferocious, tenacious on ball defender, physical, had an automatic mid range. He is such a rare, gifted talent. that doesn't get mentioned enough. And I'm watching this all transpire, and this is one of the worst eras. Okay, let's just call it what it is because it's the way they lose. See, when Chris Mims is getting dropped off, he's being outskilled. But when Anthony Davis gets dropped off, he's getting bullied. He's getting ran through. That you'll never have a problem with Chris Mims. You outskill him, footwork, all that, fine. But nobody's just going through him. No one's wondering if he's going to be healthy, the fragile allegations. No one's questioning which version of him are you getting. This, hot coldness is, mediocrity is the worst. And there's nights where the effort is just horrible. And then the problem that compounds on top of that is the fact that LeBron plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. Kobe was a tough shot maker, taker, and maker. So even you were so distracted by the acrobatic theatrics of Kobe that you almost didn't even care. It's like Lob City. I didn't care if they won a championship. I loved watching Lob City. They were fun. They were electric. Vince Carter, the same thing. Of course, you're not going to win a chip, but you were fun. I knew Aaron Rodgers was never going to win another ring with Green Bay, but he was fun to watch. Dude could take off. He could make any pass. He can throw to anybody. He'll make a wide receiver a star overnight. But when you got a guy like LeBron, it's a production, and he's a guy who plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. He's going to make the pass he's supposed to make. He's going to drive when he's supposed to drive. The problem is, it's like the concept of no honor amongst thieves. You're giving the ball to somebody who not, it's in virtue, it's the same mentality. I'm playing the game right with someone who doesn't know how to play. Roy is one-dimensional. Austin Reeves has looked so exhausted, and he played in the Olympics this year, and he just looks like he's never recovered. And to be honest with you, when you're dealing with a guy like LeBron who's crossing 40, you need another mutant next to him. This is how Kobe ended up blowing out his Achilles, having to overcompensate because there wasn't another guy who could get his own shot. Austin Reeves is a good. He's almost in the category to me of James Harden, in the sense that the Lakers, but it's not his fault. This is the thing that's the most messed up about it, because they're forcing him to be a third option, and he's probably really supposed to be more of a six man. Now, he has high IQ, so I'm not going to put him in the Jordan pool, where they're realizing now in Washington that he needs to go out and look for his shot only and not worry about running no offense or anything, playing within that second unit. You just go get a bucket. He's better than that. But the problem is, when he gets in the game against other mutant, super hyper athletic players, he can get neutralized very quickly, because he's solid athletically, but he's not gonna blow you away. You know what I mean? He doesn't have explosiveness. Westbrook, DeRozan. You need someone, and I know Westbrook, there's a I'm not saying that Westbrook is that for LeBron. Obviously, we've seen with our own two eyes. It was an epic disaster. But it's almost like what I used to get. I mean, people just did not want to understand me when I used to be like, back in the Houston run, give me Pat Bev over James Harden, because James Harden, when he's not being a superstar, is a major liability. But with Pat Bev, he's a building block. Consistent three-point shooter, plays with tenacity, great locker room vocal leader. That's the kind of guy you can say, okay, I know what I'm getting. I always use the example of Kurt Thomas with the Knicks. Van Gundy, you'd be like, hey, you got Mike Sweetney over there, you got Othello Harrington, these guys, yeah, they'll give me 30 today, and then tomorrow they'll lay a donut or give me 4 points. Kurt is a guaranteed 10 and 9. I know what his skill set is. I know his weakness, so I can game plan around that consistently. I need consistency. With James, the going gets tough. Sometimes he would drift. A lot of times he would drift in the playoffs. And you're left because you don't have any alternative, especially with the time winding down. There's only so many things you can do. Roy, he does what he does, but his IQ is not the brightest. He'll get buckets, he'll score, he'll get rebounds. But in terms of just knowing where to be at on the court sometimes, making that key rotation, knowing where to set the screen, it can get the nuances can kind of screw, he kind of trips up on. And then there's just the overall intimidation of being with LeBron, knowing that he's still chasing so many accolades. It's like Juju Watkins on USC. She's got to get hers, but at the same time, you got to win. And it's this balancing act that everyone has to kind of think twice before doing instead of just playing within the flow, you know? And so this whole team is in a peculiar spot. D'Angelo Russell really wants to be a ball dominant guard, but he's complementary role. Then they bring in Spencer Dinwiddie, who at 1.5 is giving you more value than Gabe Vincent, but there's been enough donut performances from Dinwiddie to where you're like, wow, just another add another casualty to the name of guys who just seem to forget how to play ball when they end up getting around LeBron. So where does that leave this team now? You know, this is the worst place you can be, mediocrity. And it's now been released, according to NBA Central, that Rob Pelinka stated they are guaranteed to be going for a certified third option threat. Well, that's the great thing about Reeves' contract. He's on a 50M contract. Same thing with, I believe, Rui. He's in that ballpark as well. They signed team-friendly deals. D'Angelo Russell waived his no-trade clause. So you know the ammunition is there, but another postseason run down the drain. What does that entail? This is an epic disaster if you're the Lakers. And there's no real light at the end of the tunnel. What do you do? And for me, I don't know why he's so hell-bent on signing another extension, because, quite frankly, he should be leveraging the fact that I'm going to get my... That's the only thing left. He's going to have all the stats. The only thing we want is the Griffey moment, at least for me. I just want to see him run with his son at this point. Everything else is just, it looks so inorganic and awkward. But him and his son sharing the court together and him using free agency and having another Miami South Beach moment, who, might I add, if he was doing all this accolade crossing with them or the Cavs, this would have more meaning and it would resonate harder. But all this globetrotting, he did one move too many, I think. And now it leaves him and the Lakers in this weird place. Like, I guess we can run it back. It's not, and the Lakers are not a I guess kind of place. It's crazy. I'm gonna try to do better next time, Utopian. Sorry this video was a little bit longer than I anticipated. Alright, y'all. Global. Out.